So this is exciting. Sarah Boyce is ready with the talk and is also kind of our keynote speaker. Sarah, you've done a tremendous amount of work. I think I heard someone say rising star. So it's a nice coincidence that this is about Djangonaut space.
Yes.
So I think that we should all give a really big warm welcome to Sarah. Very excited for this talk.
Thank you so much. All right, so this is my first ever conference talk, so if many things go wrong, please be very supportive. Okay, so hello, good morning. My name is Sarah, but there are multiple Sarahs in Django and multiple Sarahs here today, so I'm Sarah Boyce, and I'm a Django core code contributor. So this is me. I raised my first PR to Django less than 18 months ago. And in this time, I've become a member of the DSF. I'm now a member of the review and triage team. And in the past year, I've become one of the top 5 code committers to Django. So you could probably say I've been fairly successful in a short amount of time. And I did all of this without any form of a formal mentorship program. And yet, what I'm here to talk about is the value of providing formal mentorship at Django, and that I'm here because I really believe that this can unleash a lot of potential and talent for the betterment of Django and the Django community. But isn't that a contradiction? I was saying, I haven't needed it. Why would anyone need it? Well, I did say that I raised my first PR less than 18 months ago, and that's true. But that doesn't mean I had decided to contribute to Django at that point. In fact, I'd made that decision quite a while before then. I had a goal for myself. That contributing to Django was something I really wanted to do. I wrote it down. And I even opened up Track, and I wrote like a comment and a ticket saying, oh, please, can I work on this, and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I hadn't raised a PR, that I hadn't got anything substantial to show for my efforts for over 9 months, which is quite a significant amount of time. So why does it take that long? And the reason, or at least I think part of the reason, is Django is pretty mature. It's been around for quite a long time. There's over 18 years worth of design decisions. There are tickets which are 10 years old, lots of comments, lots of mailing list discussions. And there's lots of tests, and it feels like you can break them all by changing one line of code. And so it's a little bit intimidating. Yeah, and not to mention, there are also a lot of tickets to choose from. There's about 1,000 open tickets, and so that takes a good amount of time to get accustomed to understand what they mean, and then figure out, oh, this is completely not for me, and then move on to the next, and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit difficult. I'm not alone in thinking this. So Anvansh, who is a Djangonaut on our program, he had quite a similar experience. In fact, he'd been trying to contribute to Django for about 10 months prior to our program. And he was also going into Track and assigning himself to things, but he hadn't raised a pull request, so there was no code for anyone to look at or to give any feedback to. Any of the efforts that he'd done in the dark, and we don't have any access to that. And so, I wonder how many people have gone, yeah, I can do this, and they've started for some time, and they didn't realize that this is maybe over 6 months before you're going to get, your first win or your first success. I also said that I haven't received any formal mentorship, and while that's true, that doesn't mean I haven't received mentorship. I've received lots and lots and lots of instances of informal mentorship all the time. I really do mean that this community it's very, very welcoming. I've witnessed so many micro-validations that I belong here, that I'm welcome here, that they're grateful for the work that I've been doing. So many thank yous. There have been times where people have reached out, or quite real instances of sponsorship where my name has been put forward for things. So it's not like there wasn't mentorship. Of course there was. And really, that's the idea behind Djangonaut Space. So what we want to achieve is a system where we can provide this environment of belonging and support for contributors to Django, so that they can feel the community element of what makes contributing a valuable experience, and invite them along to be part of it. And it appears to be working. Today is the last day of our pilot program. So we've just completed our first batch. And in this 3-month period, we had a number of pull requests raised. Some of them were merged. Some are still, ongoing discussions. We hosted some talks between the fellows and with our people on the program. But the one I really want to draw the most attention to, that I'm very proud of, is that everybody who participated in the program, they came out feeling more comfortable participating in the Django community after the program. And I think that is really the main thing we're trying to achieve, regardless of, how many commits you get in or something like this. So what is the program? How does it work? As I mentioned, it currently lasts 3 months. We might change that a little bit. And we have a couple of roles defined. There are Djangonauts. Djangonauts are participants of the program. They are the people who are the mentees. And we have, you may have noticed there's a space theme. We have navigators. They are the coach, the mentors. They are people who've got some context with contributing to Django. And they have weekly catch-ups with Djangonauts to engage with them and how they're doing, and talk about any problems they might have, and keep the ball rolling with it all. And then we have another role, which are our captains. And they are providing extra pastoral support, and they are doing it in more of a one-on-one session. And this is checking in with people, what's going on with them, and checking whether they need to take a break for any reason, or if there's anything that they felt not comfortable enough to raise in front of a group of other people. And those are kind of the roles that we have. There's a little bit of structure, so a navigator will have 3 or 4 Djangonauts assigned to them that they look after, and generally we have a group of about 6 to 8 in a program so far. But really, at the crux of it all, we're providing 3 things, and these are what I think adds value with the program. And the first one is accountability. So how many times have you gone, oh yeah, sure, I will do it, and then perhaps you've delayed it? And I think contributing to Django, the best way I can describe it is it's a marathon and not a sprint. You are going to reap results if you make consistent efforts over a period of time. It doesn't move super fast. So if you are engaged in something where this is going to take some time, you can keep reaping those results. And these weekly touch-ins are ways that you can be like, right, okay, what is some small progress I'm going to do before next week? Whether that's just starting some kind of new discussion or something. The other thing is around connections. So we are really humanizing the code base. Django is full of real people who have flaws and don't know everything. And by meeting those people and learning a bit more about them, it helps to make it a little bit less intimidating and helps you engage on it in a bit of a different level. And that you can hopefully, enjoy interacting with those people, make some friends. And the final thing is sponsorship. So contributing to open source can really open a lot of doors for you, but only if you know to talk about it, only if you start telling people about it. And what we're doing is we really celebrate the achievements of the Djangonauts as much as we possibly can. We will use our voice until these individuals feel comfortable enough to use the voice of their own. And we are making connections with other people in the community. Every time we set up a talk, we are giving them that network and that possibility to really, make a difference. There's some fantastic experienced people that they can learn a lot from, and through us bringing them along, we can really share out those opportunities. Okay, so if that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn a bit more about us, our website is djangonaut.space. If you go there, that you will find all of the documentation around the program itself. You can read a bit more about what a navigator is exactly and a captain and all this kind of thing. There is also a sign-up form, and you can sign up to be any one of these roles, whether you feel like you can, perhaps you want to be a supportive mentor, you want to be a captain, perhaps you want to be a participant or a navigator. All of that is very welcome. If you did sign up, we will reach out to you and we will give you, we will organize like a Q&A session where we can get a bit more context and all this kind of stuff and answer any questions. The other way you can help out is just talk about us to people that you know. Whether you want to follow us on any of the social media, like or share what we're talking about, and kind of engage in that celebration and that discussion, because that would also be very, very useful. And then before I open up to questions and stuff like that, what I want to talk about is really why I think it all matters. So back when there was a slide before where it kind of hinted at this, but I really have received a lot of support and mentorship from this community. And this is my first conference talk. And I'm here today because Mariusz suggested that I should do this talk. In fact, he reached out to Ben and he invited me to do this. And he has done this throughout my process. He invited me to be in the DSF and he invited me to be in the review and triage team. And if it wasn't without Mariusz and people who have specifically reached out to me and let me know that I am welcome here and I'm valued here and that I am seen, I probably wouldn't still be here. And I am aware that that is me being very lucky, because I know that I am not that special. And there are so many people who can add so much value to Django and our contributing community. And Djangonaut Space is about inviting those people in and creating a system of belonging at Django. And hopefully we'll go to another conference and not only is there loads more Sarahs than there already is, but there's going to be more Tushars, more Anvanshas, more Yamissis, more Abyamas, and more Marianas, and that is really what I think it's all about. So thank you very much.
Thank you. and like nice to celebrate also now that you have done your first talk.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The first of, and now it's going to be a lot easier to do talks.
Yes, hopefully, hopefully.
So basically, questions from the audience.
Thanks. Hi. Great initiative. I think it's brilliant. What I'm wondering is, obviously, most of us, I think all of us, probably have jobs and probably families and all the other stuff. So, and you're talking about, weekly catch-ups and touch-ins. It sounds a little bit agile. I'm wondering about the level of commitment that you expect for things and what happens, when life gets in the way and, it's okay, well, I haven't done anything for 4 weeks, so I feel a bit bad now. How are you dealing with that kind of thing? So.
From the perspective of the participants or any role?
Contribute
yes.
Things so that they feel, okay, I'm not, why am I doing this? I should step back, I
yes.
should stop now,
I agree this is really hard, and a number of people I think have felt this. We do encourage that. We appreciate that life happens, and I think this is part of the reason that we have the role of the captains. So Django has been involved in Google Summer of Code for some time now, and this is our extra support layer to really figure out what is the reason behind when someone goes a bit quiet. So if someone goes a bit quiet, it could be that they're just rabbit in the headlights and they don't know what to do next. But it can also be that, yes, life is just happening. They didn't expect the workload that they've received. We've even had a bereavement and things that happen, and all of this. And your well-being is way more important than any commit you could ever do. And we appreciate that. So the other thing I want to highlight with the participants is that it is just a journey, and how much you do on the program is kind of irrelevant. And that's really why I focused on whether they feel comfortable participating in the community, because Django is going to stick around for a long time. You can leave it and come back later, and it's just whether you feel like you would like to come back later is what I think is important, because learning that level of balance and this healthy habits with open source is important, and we want to encourage that. We just want you to feel a little bit of success, realize that even if you move that discussion a bit further towards a conclusion, that is still success. Other people will pick things up if you had to put it down. But yeah, I said that in a very long-winded way. But all these kind of things.
Next question.
First of all, congratulations on your first talk. It was real good. I enjoyed it personally a lot. I have also noticed that people they have some difficulties in contributing to open source, especially when it is their first time contributing there. So I have actually 2 questions, if that's okay. And the first one is, what do you think? What have you noticed is the most difficult thing to do? Is it difficult for them to find a problem? Is it difficult for them to feel confident to say they will do so? Which one in the pipeline? And the other question I have is, how many of these people, and what can be done better so that they continue to be open source contributors? Because it's going from 0 to 1 is the most difficult thing, and I agree, but I think it's really important continuing to doing so. And it's difficult for me as well, but I'm trying to think here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So yes, exactly, when you said it yourself, the 0 to 1 element, it's really hard. And there's a lot of, and I remember, in fact, I was having a similar discussion with with Sarah A earlier about that feeling when you've raised your first PR and that you're checking whether someone has looked at it yet, and there's a lot of anticipation and things around it. With Django, I would say different people come to it with different reasons. So if you've come to Django with a specific issue that you found and you wanted to solve, you've already come at it 5 or 6 steps before somebody who's just going, I generally want to contribute to Django. Because then they need to go into track and they need to figure out a way to make this work for them and to find that first issue. So I would say with Django, usually finding the right first ticket can take some time, because even though we have I think it's called easy pickings flag, a lot of those tickets get snapped up quite quickly and there aren't that many easy ones, and so you really need to spend extra time and having the motivation to continue to stick with it when you're very much on your own at the start is quite difficult. And then you went on to talk about how people stay with open source, right? Okay. Why am I staying? Because okay, it's true, you get diminishing returns. The more that you do, you don't learn as much as you did when you did your first couple, and there's still loads to learn, of course, but it does become less and less. And also that kind of like status thing that you get for saying, oh yes, I did a Django code contribution. It gets less and less, because you know, when you say, oh, I did another one, they're like, okay, yeah, whatever now, and all this kind of stuff. And really, the reason I'm engaged in it is because I'm interacting with really fantastic people and having really interesting discussions on not only Django itself, but how should Django work? How should we progress? How can we engage with new people? And I think if you find a niche of either a way you can add specific value, so maybe you have a mission of something you want to get involved with, then that will help you to stick with it for a longer period of time. But it's more about finding that motivator, because otherwise it's your free time. You should do something that adds value to you.
Do you want another question?
I don't mind.
I have a question. Okay. I think there is a saying that something with came for the code or the knowledge and stayed for the community. Can you talk a little bit about the social aspect of Djangonaut space? For instance, I think when you have a question about Django, it can be a little bit intimidating where to ask the question. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't open an issue, then you really get yelled at. But it's also hard maybe to go to the forum and make a forum post about the question, because a whole forum can also seem intimidating. Then the IRC channels are obviously a little bit old-fashioned, so not so many people know how to go there. But I remember also just asking a question in a chat room with over 100 people is also intimidating.
Yes.
But what happens in Djangonaut space for the participants to kind of support each other?
So currently we have a private Discord server where it's only the people in the program are there, and the idea is that gives you that extra safety around that you're not asking a question that you think maybe is a stupid question in front of 1,000 people or something stupid. And ideally what we want is that people, you know, after they have had some time with it, that they feel more comfortable that they can say these things in more of a public setting, because I do appreciate there is value in people going there and saying it, because we don't want any secret knowledge to be hidden away somewhere. But this learning in public, it's terrifying, and I also don't enjoy doing it. So I can appreciate why a lot of people would not want to, go on the forum and ask that, like, oh, I've got this error when I was running the tests. Can someone help me? Kind of question. But yeah, so that's how we're achieving it, because you have people that you could talk to directly because you know some people. Then you can ask them the question, or you can post it in something that is a little bit more private than just everywhere. So.
Yeah, I would also say that ask questions in the Django forum. It's not wrong at all.
No.
But of course, it can feel a bit difficult to ask a question where it's like, I did something wrong, and now someone has to figure out what I did wrong, and then it'll be there forever on the internet.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Are there any questions from the internet? Oh, there is a question in the audience. Yes, please. Yes, you do need a microphone.
Yes, hi. So if you want to contribute to the Django core, how many years of experience do people generally have in both Python and Django, and like what would your recommendation be?
I don't think there is any specific amount that really matters. I think you need to have an appreciation of tests. Tests are very, very important. Django's at the site, there's 16,000 tests. And if there weren't that many, it would fall apart, because there are a lot of features and subtleties in there. So there's more kind of, I'd say, certain principles that you should be kind of willing, or to, even if you don't know them, if someone says you should do it like this and this and this, and if you could be like, okay, yeah, fine, and then you take that on board. Python, I mean, it's all in Python, so maybe you should have a year or two's experience with Python. With Django itself, actually, I don't think you need that much Django experience. Some people started, in fact, David Smith is a contributor to Django, quite a big one, who wasn't making Django applications himself so much, or not working on these kind of projects. You just kind of need a certain attitude and grit, I would say, to keep up with it, because it helps when if you want to go in and you want to engage in the discussions of like, does this feel like Django? Then extra experience in Django is really useful there. But if someone is saying, when I am using this database in this scenario, I have a bug that looks like this, it is just, you need to debug it and get over that specific problem. So you don't need to know every feature that there is under the sun to still add value. So, yeah, it depends. Is this the answer?
We do have a little bit more time if there is a question from the internet. I'd like to get the internet involved, but maybe they're taking a long, quiet morning out there in their couches. Okay. So let's celebrate Sarah's first talk one more time. Thank you so much.